so happy to see Paul Berger and Ellen Gardens, who last time my professors at the University of Washington, and it must be 8 or 9 years since we did a crit. So,
Please come on in and move in closer because you'll need to be able to see the work better. Yeah.
And I don't know if you had a chance to go through the museum yet and see the show. I hope maybe you have. To that end, it may be more interesting for you and definitely more interesting for me if you had any questions. Maybe that you shout out and go from there. Because I have left titles off of all the works except for one. There's a piece in the first main gallery, and it is titled Land Grab. The other title for the only other title of the show is Paradise, which I envisioned as an all-inclusive perfection, and then suddenly land grab shows up as a necessary evil of recognizing framing techniques and all their variations. So, how should we start?
Okay, I think Isaac just mentioned the word paradise. And the paradise that he is bringing to you today, offering to you today, is a paradise that is one with imperfections. In this book that will appear very soon, there's a conversation between us, and there's also an essay. But it goes to the heart of how we are living. Are we unhappy with our circumstances, unhappy with our spouses, unhappy with our jobs, unhappy with our lives? Or are we willing and able to abandon the notion that everything has to be perfect and that we can celebrate our paradise in all of its imperfections? I think that the great privilege for me in working with Isaac on this show, please come on in because I think some of you can't see. Yes, please, we just have to gather up. We don't want to break into two groups today, which was what we would normally do, because I know that you want to hear what Isaac has to say. But one of the other aspects, as I said, about this exhibition is that Isaac doesn't want to transport you to somewhere else, to his home where he made the work, but where you are right now. So we're going to ask you, and please feel free, there are no wrong answers, if anybody just wants to tell us what they see here.
A ripped up couch.
So a ripped up couch, yeah. What else? That's great.
Crumpled paper.
Crumpled paper, what else? Yeah.
Yosemite.
So Yosemite, yes, definitely.
Jacket with hood.
Sorry?
Jacket with hood.
A jacket with hood, yes. Yes.
A 3D map, those 3D grid maps.
Yeah.
Topographical
map.
Yeah.
Any other suggestions?
Broken plastic.
A broken?
Plasterboard.
Oh, plasterboard. And it's probably all of the above.
Yeah.
Now, and Isaac, do you want to speak?
I would just say that you, every single one of you, nailed it perfectly. That is, it has no title. It doesn't have. It's sort of lost its connection to where it came from, and now it's here as we are here, and it's at the mercy of your interpretation, and so anyway, those are all correct answers. It can't be otherwise. It can't hurt you, and you can't hurt it.
And one of the reasons that Isaac is insisting on this multiplicity of interpretations is not only because he wants to leave us free to have a different kind of relationship, not only to his own work, but also to art, and also about looking and seeing. Because, the standard tour is Isaac and I would sit here and we would tell you, this is what this artwork means, this is the history of the piece, this is the exact definition of it. So Isaac is opening up spaces for us that don't have a singular perspective. And that is also built into the way in which he makes the artwork. And I think you'd like to share a little bit about how you actually construct these works.
Yeah, so though they don't have a title, they do have that beginning that they have sort of severed the umbilical cord from. And those things aren't secrets. I'm happy to, if you want to know what it was that I took a photograph of to start with, that's great, we can do that. But in the show, I would like to know this thing through the contrast of the next thing we see, and how this could be possibly monumental in its attempt to be monumental. And then address that similar concern from a different perspective, which we'll see in the next gallery. This particular piece was shot, if the building processes of interest, multiple pictures sort of ascending this possibly half-dome-ish image, or multiply photographing a hooded figure, and taking each section as a sort of a mapping of this thing that is actually only 6 inches tall, and is a crumpled piece of paper that was photo paper with a raking light, is how it began. But I'd like to just forget how it began, because we don't have that thing here, and I didn't bring that thing in, because I like this one way better. So, yeah.
But just before we move into the next room, just speaking to the technical aspect of it, we had a very difficult time trying to figure out what we were going to put on the labels that aren't here, but are in the book, in terms of what medium it is. Because Isaac takes many pictures, sometimes could be 10, could be 30, could be 500, of an object from inside his home, an object or debris or spaces or something inside his home. Then he combines those photographs digitally into one image, blows it up, and then prints it as ink on paper. So we didn't know what we had. And we have a photographic process that has been digitally altered, but the actual object that you're looking at is ink on paper. When we go into the next room, we're going to see something special. Right, let's
Sorry.
I mean, I will say no question.
This is a mystery word.
I brought a friend.
We actually have a label, but we're not allowed to put this label. Let's start with your idea of what this could possibly be on the wall.
Bugs wax.
Yeah, okay. Any other ideas? Dust, yes. Any other ideas? Windows. Windows?
Say again, that's right.
Oh, the colours are moved, yes. Well, actually, because there's a label, I'm allowed to tell you. These are the actual windows from the house of Camilla and Isaac, because Camilla is here, Isaac's wife, and their children. The windows have been removed from their house, brought here, placed in a frame, and placed on the wall at the exact distance from one another that they were in his house. And Isaac has suggested he could tell you a little story.
Well, this should have been the story I started with. The Paradise is a fairly nebulous or hard to nail down place. And one story that I shared last night, which I'll share again, is that my wife and I had our first child in Green Lake 6 years ago, and the baby was born, and we held the baby and loved the baby and couldn't be more overjoyed. I don't know if it was 15 seconds or 15 minutes, but we spent some time with the child and each other, not knowing, actually not even knowing you didn't know. We just loved the child. Then we realized we don't know if it's a boy or a girl. And we've just been spending some time looking at this person without defining characteristics other than they made it, which is a big one, I guess. But once we realized that we didn't know this first dividing definition, I instantly had to find out if it was a boy or a girl. As beautiful as it was to be in that space without that knowledge, the moment that I realized I didn't have it, when I could get it, I gotta get it. And so we have a baby girl. We don't have a baby boy. And there was a bit of a sadness for myself just for a moment that that this person has the first descriptive character that has divided them into a smaller portion of an understanding. And then we gave her a name, and then we dressed her in clothes that looked good. And it all starts to narrow down. And so that idea of definition as being a necessary way to understand the world, and a bit of sadness associated with it, is why this show has. I've attempted to leave it as specific as I've made the pieces. I've tried to leave the definition of it as embracing as possible.
One of the things that Isaac says about his pieces when you're looking at them is that they are a self-portrait of his decisions. So with that work that we just saw, that was either the mountains or paper or wood or whatever it is, that we're also seeing a portrait of ourselves. When we offer a definition, when we offer an interpretation, we are also really talking about ourselves. And so what we're doing with this exhibition is, in a way, to use Isaac's word, where he's asking you to be his dance partner. And he wants to know who you are as well. And he wants to see if you're a dance partner who's willing to embrace complexity and contradiction as well. And that's why in doing this tour today, this gallery walkthrough, we're very keen on hearing your response. We want to know, we want your self-portraits as well, and want to know how we're going to dance together through this next hour.
Do you have any questions?